Good morning, everybody. It's your girl, Miracle Sims, and you're listening to God, Sex, and Love, your daily dose of inspirational juice. It is September the 5th, 2022, and today the topic is broken chains. Happy Monday, everyone, and happy Labor Day. I hope that you all had a wonderful weekend. Mine was just fine. What significant happened on Saturday? I guess it was a lazy day for the Says. I mean, not too much that we did Saturday, but on yesterday, little man and I went to church. They had a little party on the patio after church and whatnot, so that was nice. Came back home and we all kind of was in our respective places, resting and whatnot, and then eventually we got together yesterday evening and watched a movie as a family. And that was my weekend. That's pretty much how my weekend went. As for today, with it being Labor Day, I mean, we'll see what the Lord do. I'm thinking about going to see the fam today. I think they're going to get together and do something like a cookout or something. So, ain't got nothing else going on. Figure I'll go and take little guy down to Jackson, to my hometown and spend some time with fam. But, we'll see. We'll see what the Lord do. But that's the general plan for today. And I hope that whatever you guys decide to do today, will be good and everything like that. I guess we should get into the juice because, I mean, anybody watching me live, they might look at my face and like, what's wrong with you? Not that anything is wrong per se. I just would say that there's a few things that I guess crossed my mind during this study this morning that might be a little popish. But, if the Lord leads me to go on and say it, I'll say it and everything like that. But let's start with this conversation about broken chains. So basically, the prayer meditation this morning was centered around freedom and everything like that. And it kind of made me think about, church yesterday. There's this song, I guess, by Passion that's called Glorious Day that the church sings every now and then. And the interesting thing about, again, the church that I'm going to is that it is non-denominational. It is like multicultural and everything like that. So, I grew up, I would say Pentecostal, Baptist types of churches. So I'm used to gospel music and all of that. And so it's a different vibe. It's a different type of, music and stuff. So to me, it's like all of the songs are new or different, or just I never really heard them before. But they'll put the words up on the screen, and so you're seeing the words and whatnot, so you can sing along. And so that song was on my heart and mind this morning as I thought about freedom. And just a few things was on my mind while I was kind of like humming along. I even found it on YouTube and just looked at the video as I was getting ready to write these verses down and whatnot for the juice today. And basically, regardless of not knowing the songs, right, and regardless of anything like that, right, any type of cultural differences and everything, I can definitely relate to the lyrics, right? I can think about my own life and put myself in the words of the songs and give praise to God based on that. So yeah, I have felt the spirit when praising God and listening and singing those songs. And yeah, I mean, again, I don't know about anybody else. I can only share my testimony. So I know what it's like to feel down, right? I know what it was like to be in the opposite place of where I am now, especially spiritually. And so, I can't sit here and be like, oh, everything is perfect. Like, oh, I have everything. I mean, yeah, I do have like pretty much everything that I ever thought of having. But it's not like, again, I think I share with you all the time, like, I need more funds because I have more work to do. Like I have more things I want to do and more content to put out and more shows to show y'all and more movies to put out and things like that, but I'm not complaining about where I'm at. Like I'm totally, at peace where I am. And I'm thankful for the opportunities and the things that I am able to do and everything like that. But I guess I bring these things up to just remind y'all that I'm human too. You know what I'm saying? It's not that I'm going to sit here and act like everything is so easy or whatnot. But I can say that, hey, allowing God to worry about those things, all the things that I've ever, my issues and all of that, has given me a freedom, right? It has given me peace of mind and whatnot that I would say that I probably haven't experienced before. Because again, when I was taking the reins and I was trying to do things my own way and trying to do things in the way that I thought it should go and all of that, I was just getting deeper into I don't know if I would call it depression, but it was just definitely in a place of feeling like, man, something is missing, something is missing in my life, or man, I feel like I'm not on the right track, or man, I just achieved this goal, but something ain't right, and I don't know if anybody else can relate to that, but I've been there, and so again, when I think about freedom, right? When I think about the message that I heard yesterday at church, the songs that we were singing, even the song I just shared with you all, uh, yeah, maybe there is some type of emotional connection to what God has done, what I see God doing in my life and everything like that. So I guess with all of those different things in mind this morning, as I looked up verses centered around freedom, like, I mean, I guess it's easy to just go to the verses that like, oh yes, the truth will set you free and all of that. And yeah, those are important too. But I think one thing that stood out to me yesterday, and I guess maybe even this morning, is that the chains are broken. They're already broken. They've been broken. So like the message, the people that was giving the message yesterday were saying, at the end of the day, the invitation has been sent. Are you going to accept the invitation? It's not that, you can't be free. It's not that God hasn't already done this thing for you. He has, through Jesus, the freedom and whatnot is there. Are you going to accept it is the question. And in the end, and one of the things that crossed my heart and mind this morning, was the comparison between what we think freedom is and then the freedom that God gives. And so maybe we'll go deeper about that, but let me share with you all these verses that stood out to me this morning. So Psalm 107:14 says, he brought them out of darkness and shadow of death and burst their bounds apart. That verse right there definitely reminded me of I guess that song Glorious Day, as well as just, and again, everything that I heard yesterday and this morning, when it comes to this chat about freedom. Again, we were in a dark place. We were darkness, right? And then, like we were talking about the other day, that Jesus is the light, right? We just kind of reflect the light and everything like that, and how that shines through us and everything like that. But yeah, we were in bondage, right? And he burst our bonds apart. I mean, I know people always see those images of broken chains, but it's like, do you really, I don't know if we believe that. Like, again, like I know I say this stuff all the time, especially here on the Juice, when we're like, you read the verses and you hear the songs and all that stuff, but like if you can't, not saying you got to do it the way I do, and you got to look at it the way I do or something like that. But I really would question those that claim to be believers, but then it's like you can't see what God has done already. You know what I mean? Like you can't appreciate and just, I don't know. I just, I mean, and again, I mean, everybody's on their own path and process and takes time, and whatnot. Obviously, it took me whatever time it took me to get to where I'm at, so I'm not, again, trying to, make anybody feel bad or shame or whatnot if they're taking a little bit longer than me. But I mean, I guess this was a beautiful verse that stood out to me this morning. He brought us out of the darkness and shadows of death and burst our bonds apart. Galatians 5:1. Freedom Christ has set us free. Stand firm, therefore, and do not submit again to the yoke of slavery. Yeah, man, it's like we standing there with free chains, right? We standing there with the chains broken, but then we trying to attach them again. or just like any other I guess you would say analogy, like, the pig going back into the mud, or whatever it was, like with the dog eating the vomit. Like, I mean, if those things are grotesque to you, those images, then yeah, then maybe you should think about this whole thing a little deeper. Like, it's in a similar fashion. Like, if you're trying to reattach the chains that have already been broken, then it's just like those other two examples. And it's just one of those things. Now, am I perfect? No. Am I human? Yes. Who knows? There might be some, chains I'm trying to reattach, whatever the case is. I'm not sitting here trying to, again, point no fingers at nobody or whatever. I mean, I'm just saying what the Bible is saying here and what I studied this morning. And yeah, Christ has made us free. So we need to be standing firm in that freedom and not submitting to the yoke again, because we don't have to. We don't have to submit to those yokes. I know that's the thing too. It's like people. I mean, this kind of goes a little bit with the last verse. So when I think about like yokes and slavery and whatnot. So let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let me go to this next one. 1 Peter 2:16, it says, live as people who are free, not using your freedom as a cover up for evil, but living as servants of God. So yeah, servants of God, I mean, well, this is one of those verses again. I don't know, it might be Pope, depending on where you are spiritually. I don't know, but yeah, we are free, right? So we can live as people that are free. But again, it's like, but don't be out here using your freedom for evil. And I guess thinking about that as well as this last few verses that I'm going to share just really made me like do that whole little comparison of like freedom with Jesus versus freedom otherwise. And so let me just read this real quick, and then maybe we'll talk about that. I don't know, y'all. That's that other side where I was like, All right. So here we go. Matthew 11:28-30 says, come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Now, here's the thing, y'all. According to what I'm understanding about all of this, right, you're going to be in slavery to something. And I know that sounds, I'm just telling y'all what the words say. You're going to be in bondage and slavery to something. Either that's going to be sin or God. And so what Jesus is saying, hey, you might as well come be a servant for me versus being a servant to sin. And where I came into my heart and mind this morning, and this is where things might get a little bit, I don't know, but here we go. So basically, what had came to my heart and mind this morning is like, what is so bad about the biblical request? What is so bad about following Jesus? What is so bad about being a servant of God? So much so where people are so like up in arms about, either not wanting to, or, or even where there's just this pull, right? And I mean, I get it, it's flesh and spirit. Like, I get the bigger picture of like each and every one of us are going through our own individual battles and whatnot, and we're dealing with, our own lust or desires or whatever the case is, right? So we're not trying to make light of all of that, because I know firsthand that all of that is huge, right? And it can take a toll on your life and your decisions and X, Y, and Z. But if you're listening to the sound of my voice today, basically I'm asking this question, like, what is it that is like, what is worth like not accepting this invitation, right? Not accepting what Christ is given and everything like that. Like, I mean, if you realize that, okay, it's going to be between these two choices, either I'm going to be a slave to sin or I'm going to be a slave to Christ. Like, if you really do narrow it down that way, and then you're like, you're trying to choose, and you're like, okay, well, on one hand, I think there's this narrative that, oh, well, there's freedom in your sin and X, Y, and Z. But then when you're in the midst of it, now, as somebody, now again, I'm human as well. So let me just talk about, I guess, times when I was in sin, right? In those times, what did I have? Well, I had, I was dealing with fears. I was dealing with probably borderline depression in some ways. I was feeling like, you name it, man, feeling alone, feeling pressure, feeling like something wasn't right, feeling not in line, feeling like all these different things, right? And dealing with it alone and all of that. Versus coming to Christ, right? And it's like, okay, there's the fellowship. You understand that, hey, there's other people that are experiencing or have experienced things too. You're sharing the shortcomings. You're sharing the things that God has done for you. You're providing hope and light and salt and all these different things, and whatnot. And honestly, like, it's like, here's I guess the thing that came into my heart and mind this morning. Like, it's like, what is it that we want when it comes to freedom? Like, are we just looking at it like, oh, well, I want the freedom to have sex with whatever I want, including children or animals, or whatever the case. I want that freedom and no consequence, right? Like, I want the freedom to still kill. Like, I mean, because outside of the Bible, like, that's all that we're doing. It's not that we're coming up with something new, and there's just so much freedom that the Bible and Jesus takes away from us. Like, oh, you don't have the freedom. Like, I mean, because if you read, and I know this again, people debate, but if you read, it say we got the freedom to eat whatever we want to eat. You know what I'm saying? And all of that different type of stuff. Like, I know people want to get on their soapboxes about whatever, but at the end of the day, in Christ, we have that freedom, X, Y, and Z. Now, obviously, it has those verses in there about, like, well, don't be debating with people about that. If you amongst believers, X, Y, and Z, then hey, if you gotta, y'all got to go deeper with your own study in regards to all of that. But we do have the freedom to, like eat wherever we want. You got the freedom to pretty much live wherever you want. Like, yeah, God may be leading us in certain directions where he wants us to go and stuff like that, or things that he wants us to do. But it's not like you don't got the freedom to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so what is it? Like, what is it that's like really that you're just like, oh, I don't have freedom in this area. So, because I mean, and is that worth it at the end of the day? So I don't know. That was like the thing that came into my heart and mind this morning. And I don't necessarily see anything worth going back to the bondage of sin or the bondage of, like, dealing with things alone and all of those different types of things. And I don't see the yoke of Christianity being that hard, or that evil or whatever, but again, everybody can choose what they want to choose, and everything like that. But I don't know, that just came across my heart and mind this morning, random, interesting thought in my opinion, and y'all can decide what y'all feel about all of that. But anyway, feel free to go deeper, y'all. There's plenty of verses in the go deeper section, or you guys can just look up more things since around freedom and truth and all of that. Hey, go listen to that song if you guys just want to clear your minds and just reflect on what God has done for you and everything like that. It's Passion, Glorious Day, and everything like that. But hey, the Bible verse of today is Matthew 11:28. It says, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls." Friends, I hope you all enjoyed this juice this morning. Thank you so much for listening to God, Sex, and Love, your daily dose of inspiration, the juice. I pray you guys can go forth and have a wonderful day, and I look forward to talking to you all tomorrow, if the Lord's will. Bye-bye. there you go, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, anybody listening to the sound of my voice. I hope that you all are encouraged and inspired. I know we got a little iffy in there, again. But I mean, again, when you do the comparison, it's like that's the question at the end of the day. Like, what is it? What if you don't feel like freedom in Christ is free, then what kind of freedom you looking for? You know what I mean? Like, oh, because the Bible say don't kill, you want the freedom to kill? Like what? Because you want the freedom to go and covet after your neighbor's wife and all this. That's what you want? Like that's the type of freedom you want? Like, I mean, technically you can do all of that stuff. You can, but that doesn't mean there's no consequence for you doing all that stuff. And so I guess that's where the downside comes in. That's where the Pope is and whatnot. You're gonna have consequences to those actions. But I mean, just something to think about, y'all. Just something to think about. I hope that you guys have a wonderful day today. And yeah, I look forward to talking to you all tomorrow. The Lord's will. Bye-bye.